Hello, and welcome back to Cabincast Rambles with Oliver and Tan.
Hello.
We are here once more to talk about Steven Universe, Season 2 again. Last time we did Chile and Cry for Help. This time, Keystone Motel. Maybe Onion Friend.
Maybe.
Unrealistically historical fiction.
Probably not.
Probably not. Definitely the first one though. Which does kind of jump straight off of what happened last time. So do you want to do a quick refresher, Tan?
Well, it's not like a direct. See, so in Cry for Help, we learned that Pearl did repair the communication hub a couple times after Peridot had done it for real, in order to trick Garnet into fusing with her into Sardonyx, basically. Garnet was pretty upset about that.
Yeah.
The episode not historical friction. Keystone Motel, even.
Indeed.
Don't know where that came from. Starts off, Pearl's come back, and she says she's been searching for Peridot for a few days straight. So it's not a direct sequel. It comes a couple days after.
Yeah, but in terms of the context,
Indeed,
it is very much influenced from what happens there.
Yeah. We don't know what they've been doing, what Steven's been doing during those last couple days. Because, presumably he's, I don't know, just been alone or with Amethyst most of the time. Although, as we'll see later, Amethyst doesn't really seem up for anything.
No.
But,
yeah,
Garnet's still ignoring Pearl.
Yeah. It's pretty sad.
It is. It's not a fun home life.
No.
And Pearl's about to apologize when Greg barges in with the offer for a road trip.
I need to go to the next state over, Keystone. The Keystone State? Yeah, the state named Keystone.
Yeah. In real life, that's Pennsylvania.
Indeed.
And they're in Delmarva. And I was looking at it, and it would have been about a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
Thinking realistically. Because I was looking at Google Maps, because that's like my hobby, I guess. Is just going on Google Maps for some reason.
Yeah, and fair enough.
I zoomed in on Delaware, and right near there is there's a town called Ocean City in Maryland. Which, is not. And then a little north of there is Cape Henlopen State Park, which looks exactly like Beach City's sort of peninsula with a sort of like little bit at the end. So that's probably what it's based off.
Quite possibly. That's pretty cool.
So from there to the border of Pennsylvania is 2 hours, 100 miles.
Indeed. And yeah, Greg's like, there's some guy selling car wash brushes really cheap. Greg, runs a car wash, so he wants to go grab them.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it would cost more in fuel to go there and back than it would to get the car wash brushes locally.
But yeah.
Stonks.
Good excuse to go on a trip with Steven as well.
Exactly.
Because Steven's never really been on a road trip by his responses.
It doesn't seem like it.
Do you like motels? And he's like, probably.
I mean, I've never been in a motel either.
Me neither.
Well, I don't think there are a lot of those in England.
You don't really have enough road to need motels all that much. Like I've been in a couple of places which are more like motels, I guess, but they're not proper motels. They're still very much hotels. Like they kind of feel like motels because like you can park your car outside and then like your rooms are there, but they're still very nice rooms and there's still other stuff. It isn't just a room.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like the less than stellar quality is a key component of a motel as well, but that might just be from an outside perspective.
Plus, you can pretty much drive across the country in a day or less in comparison. You can drive apparently from John O'Groats to Land's End in 14 hours straight.
Yeah. I mean, we used to go to Barrow-in-Furness, which is on the border with Scotland, from like when we used to live in Croydon.
Oh yeah.
And that'd take about 7 hours. And that's most of the mid part of the country, and that would be with stops as well, so yeah. And traffic too.
It's true.
Because when I was less so when we were in America, because we didn't drive anywhere, we just took public transport and stuff. But when we were in Canada, we drove from Victoria over to Banff and other places like that. And we drove like for so many days, for so many hours, and it just flew by because there's not that much traffic and everything looks gorgeous.
Oh wow.
And not to say that we don't have, nice sights here, but a lot of our roads don't go through the Rockies.
Yeah, that makes
by
sense.
a lot of, I mean, all of our roads don't go through the Rockies.
I'd love to do some good road trips.
I never thought I would like it, and then it was actually pretty amazing. But back to the episode. Greg's like, yeah, do you wanna come with me to a motel? And it's you got a cute Greg Stephen moment.
It's kind of that sort of when you live in slight poverty, you're like, you want to go to something exciting, a motel.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It is nice.
And
then
Garnet says she wants to come as well for some reason. It's still not one I know. I do not know the reason.
I mean, the reason, as I would take it, is to try and get away from Pearl. Try and clear her head, maybe.
Yeah, I guess Pearl did say she was sorry at that point, so maybe Garnet just really didn't want to
deal with it.
To deal with that at the moment.
Yeah, I think that might be what it is. I also don't think, again, obviously she's still not particularly okay with Pearl right now. This was a lapse in her judgment because things do not go particularly well.
Might be a stretch to say it was future vision then.
Yeah. I don't think she was particularly in tune with what might happen based on this decision in this particular moment.
Maybe. But she does make that decision regardless.
But she does, and they go to the motel. And to be
They
fair,
do indeed.
it doesn't look that bad. As again, motels I've seen in movies and TV shows go.
Yeah, certainly looks a bit nicer than some of the ones I've seen in, well, the Storm Chaser guy.
Yeah.
When he stays in a motel and he's like, oh, this one's completely grimy. Lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still don't understand why getting free ice is a thing. But it is.
It gets quite hot there, so
I think that must be it. Again, that's another thing. One of the places we stayed at an ice machine, and I was like, "That's pretty cool to actually see one." I'm not gonna get any because I don't understand why you need it. But yeah, I imagine if it's cooler, I mean, if it's warmer, then yeah, just having ice is good or something.
I'm sure it's
Maybe it doesn't get warm enough here. So, but anyway, yeah. Greg quickly checks for bed bugs because it's a good father thing to do. And also just because no one likes bed bugs. But then
yeah.
he heads off to go pick up the brushes, and it's just like, Garnet, will everything be okay?
And she does not seem like
no,
everything will be okay.
but she manages a thumbs up.
Yeah, the two different sides of her are sort of like doing different things, which you can see is already the start of
them
splitting apart.
I do like how Greg's like, I'm off to go see a man about a tunnel brush, an internet man. I'm not back in an hour. Call the police. Because yeah, potentially dangerous. Thankfully, isn't. But you know, gotta be careful. And Garnet's still doing the same thumbs up from before, really just focusing on that thumbs up there. And Steven's just not really noticed.
Yeah, Steven's just, being wholesome.
Yeah.
But you can see Garnet is arguing with herself.
Mm-hmm.
And we can sort of see the internal conflict within her, except it's external, which makes fusion a good way of sort of understanding that kind of internal contradiction that one might
Understanding that, and yeah, kind of a great way to kind of show it to kids as well.
It's true.
Um,
Because on the one side we've got Sapphire, who is also feeling like angry about it, but really wants to move past it. And then we got Ruby, who is very emotional about it and is unwilling to move past it, wants to sort of hold that grudge.
Yeah.
And both of them have a point.
Yep.
But at that time, it's obviously not very good for Garnet being Garnet, and so they split apart. And yeah, they have a little argument right in front of Steven, which is unfortunate for him.
It is unfortunate. Unfortunate.
Unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was bad. Anyway,
it's also clear that Steven still doesn't quite get it, because his reaction is, "Oh, Ruby, Sapphire, not Garnet. No, you've unfused. This is very bad."
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He's just excited to see him.
Yeah, which fair enough. They're pretty cool, but yeah, no. The reason for them fusing in this specific instance is bad news. But he catches on pretty quick, which I mean.
Yeah, not a good place to have an argument, but
no.
Oh well.
Yeah.
So the issue here is that, yeah, Ruby is. They're both angry about it, but Sapphire wants
Sapphire's
to.
completely engulfed in rage.
Engulfed in rage, as she says so herself.
Yeah.
Sapphire wants to move forward, but Ruby, probably would understand that, but Sapphire doesn't show any emotion when doing so. And since they are, they were splitting apart. They've unfused. They're not in sync with each other's feelings.
Yeah.
Ruby doesn't quite understand why Sapphire doesn't look very angry about it.
Yeah, like one of them is very emotive. One of them is not.
Yeah, it's not really a difference in what they're actually feeling. It's just how they express it.
It's how they express it. I think if you were really looking into how they were, how to say, programmed almost as gems. Ruby is a soldier who you put with other rubies. You know, they have a strong bond. They are very zealous. They're supposed to lay down their lives for the stronger gems and all that stuff. A sapphire can see the future. They accept that things will happen and that they can't do anything to change that. So being overly emotional is not going to help that gem. So having them be more reserved and calm makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Obviously, that's why when we see them fuse for the first time, it does make such a big impact on both of them. But yeah, that too, I reckon. But then that makes them feel more like robots again, which they're not. Obviously, they are actual creatures. So
knowing the future so much, like Sapphire does, tends to make her a bit distant from the present.
Yeah,
a bit detached.
Exactly. And even though she might be feeling angry, she doesn't express it like we said.
And I guess the same goes the other way. And Ruby is perhaps very invested in the present.
She's very in the here and now. What matters is what's happening right at this moment. Yeah.
Exactly. So you've got sort of two sides there.
Indeed. Yeah, Sapphire floats in this scene.
Sapphire
I don't know
can
if you've
float.
seen her float before. She just seems to have like unlimited power. I don't know. But then Ruby does start to
doesn't
set on
have
fire
legs.
the heat, so yeah, she just has dress.
She just has dress
and one eye.
See how fast she runs in Jailbreak? She just goes vroom, and then stops.
Yeah.
No leg.
No leg.
Just dress.
Just dress. But yeah, so yeah, Ruby's like, you're not as above this as you think you are, which is correct, as we'll soon find out. Because again, we still know each other very well, and Sapphire explains that you can't just keep being angry with her. Again, also very true. But neither of them is saying the right thing to each other at the moment either.
Yeah, and Sapphire says the sooner they forgive Pearl, the better it will be for everyone, which is also true because it'll result in a much better home life.
It's better for the team. It's primarily better for Steven because again they are his mums, and so he doesn't need them fighting, and it'll be better for them. But yeah, at the same time, it is fusion, which is incredibly personal to them.
Yeah, it's a very complex issue, and I'm glad that it's been brought up with tact.
Yeah, exactly. Ruby starts to set fire to the carpet.
Yeah.
Because Ruby's... like, them being warm and cold doesn't always seem like it's relevant, but it is here. Ruby is very hot-headed, so yes, and she's red, so yes, fire makes sense. I don't know if we see it anywhere else.
Good question. I don't recall seeing fire that much when it comes to rubies.
No.
I think in Ruby Rider she uses a fire to light the campfire.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's all I remember. But yeah, like you said, Ruby's hot-headed, but Sapphire can be sort of cold.
Hearted.
Literally And figuratively.
Yeah.
Oh.
Again, makes sense. And I mean, if we think about how gems are just the gem, and like, you know, they're kind of magic or scientific, depending on how you want to look at it, creatures and emotions are things that they don't particularly learn. It's not something that they had on Homeworld, it's more they've gained. So if there's like, you know, being incredibly cold and distant makes who knows how the science of it works, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Steven goes outside to go in the pool, and Ruby keeps on ranting.
Is it at this point, like just before Stephen leaves, you can see a little bit of ice? Or does that not appear until a bit later?
It's a bit later.
Because I know the room's like completely covered in ice when he gets back, but is it just slightly? Or is that like, or am I confusing it with a different scene in which ice happens?
See any. Yeah, I don't see any.
Oh, you're watching it.
I've got it up. Yeah.
I'm just like.
Yeah, you're doing it from memory much better than I am. But no, yeah. No, I think when he leaves, everything's still okay. And he goes back, and it's much cooler. I think.
Mm.
But yeah, first he's like, "Come and get in the pool, cool down."
Exactly.
But Ruby doesn't need to cool down. Which is a very kind of like army kind of line, which fits with I don't know. It seems like the kind of line a drill sergeant could give, which is the kind of vibe I get from Ruby sometimes. So
sometimes, yeah,
quite fitting. Not all the time, but some of the time, and that line is one of the times.
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot in her rant.
Yeah.
About what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly,
and it comes back to them always being the bigger gem again.
Yeah, always being the bigger gem, and of course that's something. You know, when you're young and you're in school or something, and they're like, "Don't bully," or they're also like, "If you get bullied, we'll punish you if you're not the bigger person about it or whatever." That's not the exact wording, I don't think. But yeah, there's an emphasis on being the bigger person.
I would.
And just sort of like, just ignore it and tell a teacher or something, you know? That's what they say about bullying at school, isn't it? It's been a while.
No, I wouldn't. No. I wouldn't say so.
They don't tell you to punch him in the gut, do they?
Well, no. So, like, I wouldn't say. If it's bullying, obviously, yeah, no. If you can ignore it, that is like often the best thing to do, because bullies are primarily people who are looking for reaction. You know, often with bullying, it's usually people looking for reaction because they, don't get enough attention somewhere else, either from parents or from siblings and stuff like that. So they look for getting a reaction elsewhere out of other people.
Yeah.
So if it is stuff you can ignore, then absolutely, yeah, try and ignore it. But I wouldn't always say that would be the best course of action. Generally, getting into a fist fight makes things worse. That's definitely true. But yeah, I don't know. It's a complicated issue. Like being the better person about something and ignoring something, I wouldn't necessarily saying the same thing. Like if it's like a one-off, if they say teasing as a one-off jest, bullying as repeated, but yeah, if it's like a one-off thing, be the better person, just get over it. Might have been an accident or they didn't mean it seriously. If it's something more long term, then I wouldn't necessarily say that you always have to be the bigger person, but usually, in the long run, you'll end up feeling better for it, I find.
Yeah, of course. But
yeah, I know what you mean.
The thing I was gonna say, the thing I was meaning was that this, Steven Universe is often is a show for kids, and so it's trying to, because sometimes schools tell you to be the bigger person.
Yes.
When you're getting bullied, and this is sort of a kind of a counter argument to why that might not always be the best idea. Because certain things aren't.
I think this is honestly less about bullying.
No, not so much about bullying.
And more just potentially
just
sometimes when you've got like that friend who isn't always a great person. Well, not literally, Tan, but like you've got sometimes you've got a friend who isn't always like that nice a person to you until they need something. Or until they need your help with something or they want something. And you're like, oh, okay, well, sure, you've not really helped me lately, but it's okay. I'll do this. And you keep doing that, even though it's potentially making stuff worse for you. Because you just like, well, it's all right, I'll be the bigger person. Because obviously Pearl isn't bullying
no
Garnet at all. And she is, terribly sorry for what she's done, but she still did make a mistake, and it's not the only mistake she's made, or Amethyst, or by extension Steven. But pretty much in all these situations, one way or another, it's Garnet who has to resolve the issue.
Yeah,
which again isn't them taking
kind of.
Yeah, it's not them intentionally taking advantage of Garnet, but she is a fusion. She is stronger, so they've just learned to rely on her. Which, as we've talked about in the past, is okay up to a point. But she shouldn't always be expected to solve every problem by herself.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah.
But Ruby's kind of had enough of suppressing those feelings and just being the bigger gem.
Yeah, she doesn't she feels like she deserves to take this personally because fusion is incredibly personal to her. It was fair enough.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we got there.
Bam.
Bam.
That was good.
Speaking of getting there, Ruby gets in the pool.
Yeah, that's true. She walks around in the bottom of the pool.
She does.
And boils it.
Yeah, which is funny to Steven for all of 5 seconds before he starts to boil. Because yeah, she's just very angry. So Steven has to go back to the room. And yeah, it's really cold.
It's really cold.
Which will be worse because he was just boiling.
Oof. Yeah, true.
Yeah. Great thing to do in Sweden.
Sweden?
I not specifically Sweden, but you've
Sorry,
Norwegian.
Yeah.
You've the people who I know who've done it have done it in Sweden, but Norway makes sense too. Where you go, you've got a cool lake, and you've got a sauna. You go from one to the other. It's supposed to be very refreshing.
Oh, really?
So I've heard. I have never done it.
I know it's like if you've been out in the cold a lot, like in the snow, and you go to warm up, you're supposed to warm up slowly rather than just put yourself on a radiator because you might burn yourself without noticing.
Indeed. And that's why with a sauna, it's more heat in humidity rather than straight up putting yourself on a hot thing. It's like heat in the air rather than being on a hot surface.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's actually good for you. It might be really bad for you, but it just feels nice. But I think people do. But
Sapphire.
yeah. Again, Stephen wasn't intending to do this.
Stephen wasn't intending to.
He was not in Sweden. He was in the Keystone State, and
yeah, the state of Keystone.
Yeah, that's the one. And yeah, it's really cold because Sapphire's doing fine, apparently.
Yeah, she's. So when Stephen says like, "Well, Ruby's very upset," then Sapphire says that doesn't matter at all. What matters is the future, is the results, is what happens going forward.
Which is what we were talking about.
But the powers respond to emotion, presumably, like Stephen's, I guess, and so we know for certain that Sapphire is feeling a heck of a lot of emotion because the room's gone real cold.
Real cold. Which is bad
but
for
she's
the
just
human part.
repressing it behind this sort of veil of, well, pretending to be above everything.
Indeed.
And while it is true that they can't stay mad at Pearl forever, perhaps it is okay to be mad at her for a bit.
Yeah.
And then they can work it out. Stephen tries to go to the bathroom, but it's all frozen.
Yeah, like he's starting to freeze as well, so.
It's true. And Sapphire's just like saying about how everything's fated. Which just reinforces what we've already seen, but also that it's fated for Stephen to pee outside.
Yep. Because again, she's just looking ahead at the future and like, well, all these things are going to happen. There's no point trying to change it. Just it is what it is, and it will get sorted out in the end, or it won't.
Although, it turns out she doesn't know what's going to happen in the future because she doesn't know about the thing that happens at the end of the episode.
Exactly.
Bam.
Yeah.
Although, I guess it says something about this sort of, not stoicism, but you know the people that are like the Jedi, that are like, oh, can't feel emotions. You just got to use your rationals. And see everything. Ignore those pesky emotions and just
trust in the Force and
just
don't feel.
Yeah. Well, that's really just a path to suppressing your emotions, not feeling it.
It doesn't work. Yeah, I mean, the Jedi are a great example because the whole. I could be mixing my lore here. If Tom Hall was there, I'm sure he could correct me. But the whole point of them suppressing emotion, all that stuff, is, if you have emotions, anger leads to hate leads to suffering leads to the dark side. And so it's like, right, well, we'll get rid of all emotion, and then, none of this can happen. And it's like, well, you don't have to, just because the whole idea of the Sith, again, at least as far as I understand it, is the idea of, passion and your power, your emotions give you strength, and you can tap into them and you're into your anger and they can strengthen you. And that is the key to becoming strong with the dark side, which is often stronger, but will mess you up in the long run. But the Jedi of like the prequels are just like, nope, forget all the emotion. It's bad. It's not good. It's a mistake. And that's why, when Anakin is struggling because, he cares for Padme and he's unsure what to do and stuff, and he goes to speak to Yoda and stuff, and Yoda's just like, nope, let it go. Is it surprising that he ends up becoming very close with Palpatine, who actually, listens to him and listens to his feelings and all that stuff. And nope, not really.
Tells him the tale.
Tells him the tale of Darth Plagueis device. That too. But yeah, I mean, like in episode 6, Luke doesn't kill his father because it's his father, and it's because it's his son that Vader ends up killing Palpatine, which is all, emotionally driven stuff. It's not logic. He's just saving his son. So like, well, what do you know? Completely
Did Yoda
separating your emotions doesn't work.
Did Yoda stick with that philosophy even up until the last?
No.
Or does he go like, yeah, you know what, Luke, you're right. Maybe emotions are okay.
I don't know if he ever explicitly says it or anything, but like his incredible scene that we get in episode 8, which, even if you don't like the film, like we both do, like the Yoda scene in that is still great. The fact that he burns all the books, or doesn't because Ray's already nabbed them. But at the very least, he tries to burn all the books, and he's like, page turners they are not. I think to some extent, at the very least, that's him acknowledging that, they weren't right. They weren't all right. There were definitely things they got wrong.
Bam.
So yeah. Yeah, concealing and getting rid of it. Conceal, don't feel, don't let them know. Let it go.
It's another reference.
It is.
I'm not sure what it is.
It's also to do with ice. It's Frozen.
Oh, it's Frozen.
Let it go.
I haven't seen Frozen.
You've not. Oh. I mean, it's a meme now, but it's a great film. We might have to do that because that would be a very interesting discussion, I think. I will refrain from saying anything else then. No, again, it's got some very interesting things about keeping your emotions suppressed and not feeling anything. Again, all under the surface, but they're definitely there. Greg's back.
Yeah, Greg's back.
And he's got pizza.
Yeah. And he wasn't killed.
He was not killed by an axe murderer. And then Greg has to everything's gone wrong, basically.
Yeah.
Which it seems, based on his reaction, that I don't know, maybe this has happened a couple of times potentially in the past.
Yeah, Greg knows about Sapphire.
Greg knows about Sapphire and Ruby.
And presumably he knows that Sapphire gets all icy when she's feeling a lot.
Yep.
That probably happened after he was with Rose, and they were like,
what?
yo.
It's probably
baby.
Yeah. That's quite possibly. And she's like, he won't like that it's square, which, I mean, it's just more pizza, man.
I love a square pizza.
I'd like the middle parts, like, yeah, that's a bit complicated, but I guess at that point you might have to use a knife and fork and just deal with it, but...
I use a knife and fork anyway.
Yeah, I was afraid you might say that.
What do they call... I think it was on... What's it called?
Calzone?
It's like grandma pizza or something.
Oh, grandma... Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
You make it square and then you just put everything on it. It's brilliant. It's the best pizza
great, so,
you can ever have. It's like really thick crust, and then you've got tomato and cheese and like onion and like beef mince and like, I don't know, pineapple ham, whatever, everything.
Get it all. Get all the fridge.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's the sort of homemade style pizza.
Yeah, homemade style pizza is great. I've not had one of those in ages, but something different about homemade. That's not true because we have a pizza oven, but like even that is like different to cooking it in just a regular oven.
Yeah,
because pizza still feels like.
I was reminded about it on on a Bon Appetit video or something anyway.
Indeed. So yeah, Greg's like, well, where's the other one? And she has evaporated the entire pool.
The whole pool's gone.
So yeah, she must be very hot.
Yeah, there's probably something to be said about the fact that their emotions destroyed their environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, it's not you can't swim in the pool, you can't enjoy the pool.
No.
And you can't live in that cold room.
No, you cannot.
Because their argument has affected it.
Yeah, that's
an allegory for the home life.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Also the pizza square.
Also the pizza square.
And I mean, to be fair, the fact that it seems to just be cheese pizza, because it looks more like blondies to me than pizza, doesn't help it.
Blondies?
Like brownies, but they're made with white chocolate and
that's genius.
Like raspberries in and stuff like that.
That's genius. I hadn't even thought of that.
Oh, they're very good. They're very good, and I don't like white chocolate, but they are still very good. Yeah, would recommend trying. But yeah, Stephen does not like that it's square, like Sapphire said.
Yeah.
And Greg makes a great point.
You can learn to accept all pizza.
Yep.
It's one of those things that, pizza's a sort of something you have as a special occasion. For me, it means Saturday. That's a special occasion.
Yes.
So no matter what kind of pizza it is, that's okay.
Yeah. And I mean, it goes beyond pizza. Obviously.
It does go beyond pizza.
It's just about, you've got to learn to make the most of things.
Yeah.
Which is very much what Greg has done.
Because the pizza being square doesn't really affect the taste. Like you can understand someone who's like if someone's lactose intolerant.
Yep.
And they're like, here you go, here's a cheese pizza. And it's like, well, I have every right to complain about this because I literally can't eat it.
Yeah.
But for a square pizza, it doesn't really affect anything.
Yeah,
and there's no reason not to accept it.
Well, it's a square, but I still can't eat it.
Yeah. It's like, I can only eat circles, sorry.
Exactly. But yeah, they get past that because, it is still pizza and Stephen accepts that. But he does, say, oh, why can't they make up?
Which is it's quite a wholesome Stephen way of thinking about it.
It is. And Greg is just like, we should probably give them some space. Let them try and work it out.
Which I mean, it didn't really.
People can work and not work.
Yeah, it didn't work in this instance. But then I guess they did only give them the night in terms of space, and then in the morning everything happens.
Yeah, this is more on Ruby and Sapphire for deciding to come with them.
Yeah.
Honestly, more than it's on Craig and Stephen, because obviously if they didn't keep giving them space, they'd have left them here. Or they wouldn't have really managed it. So there wasn't too much they could or couldn't do.
Yeah, I mean, it ended up okay.
And it does end up okay.
Reasonably okay.
Yeah.
I guess breakfast did bring them together, just not in the way they wanted. But it is the next day.
It's the next day. They're the best joint in the world, which is empty.
True.
Which seems suspect to me for the start. And also, the breakfast does not look like the breakfast. It's 2 eggs, 3 pieces of bacon, and a strawberry.
It's very American, putting a strawberry on it.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it's a face, which is pretty neat, but that's not a good breakfast.
It looks tasty.
Mm.
But yeah, it's an awkward time there. The conversations are not. they are like Greg brings up Garnet, and then Ruby goes, "Well, she's not here," and it sort of takes them back to the argument, and it's like, oh boy, that's fun. And it goes from there. Ruby starts shaking the table in anger.
Yep.
We get a little bit from sort of. We kind of get that because in the evening they were apart. Ruby was in the pool and Sapphire was in the house, and they were sort of stewing in their own feelings.
Yeah.
But now they're actually talking to each other, and it's not good because they're arguing.
Yes, indeed. And again, they sort of really get human things. So yeah, Ruby smashes the table, and then Steven sees the face on the floor, but it's sad, and this makes him sad. It doesn't. He's just generally sad, but he does see the face on the floor. And Greg's still trying to be like, it's okay, we can still make this work. But then Steven decides, no, he is going to also commit vandalism and smash the plate. You could have just put it down, buddy. But yeah, he's pretty upset, which is fair enough. And it's the first time that Sapphire and Ruby are like, oh, hang on, maybe we should be paying attention to other people's feelings. Yeah, so he storms off, and they come running after him.
They do. I don't know what it is they're saying like in the background because I always focus on what Greg and Steven are doing. And then I forget that they're arguing in the background. So I have no idea. Maybe it's something important.
It follows. I don't think so. It's still, Sapphire's just like, you can't stay angry forever. You're going to tire yourself out. We'll deal with this. It'll all be over. And Ruby's like, no, I'm never going to tire myself out. I can keep being angry. Also, please feel something, because you don't feel anything, and it sucks because I'm doing all the feeling, and you're just like emotionless, and that's really dull.
Yeah.
Or something.
And Steven,
yeah,
has a big old rant.
Yeah.
And you can feel for Steven because he's sort of blamed himself because the arguments followed him.
Yeah. Because he's like, yeah, he was happy for Garnet coming because he thought she'd want to have a fun time because home has been awful, and then here has been awful, and yeah, so he's like, is it me? And obviously it's not him, and obviously Ruby and Sapphire are immediately like, no, and yeah, they would have probably got there by themselves eventually, but this is a catalyst to make them kind of realize that they are maybe being a bit self-involved and a bit selfish.
Catalyst, that's the word. Yeah. Been looking for that word this whole time.
Nice.
Indeed.
Yeah, a bit sooner.
Yes. Steven was the catalyst for them to work it out sooner than they may have done otherwise.
But yeah, this is when Sapphire is like, I keep looking into the future because that's when everything's all been solved. But as if it doesn't matter with how people feel in the present, which is what we said like 10, 15 minutes ago. It's almost as if we've seen this episode before. But yeah. But yeah, then she's like, no wonder you don't think I'd care.
And it is interesting how Ruby immediately goes to like self-deprecation after that.
Yeah, well, yeah, Sapphire is like being a little bit self-deprecating. So then Ruby is more self-deprecating. Yeah, because she's like, I just wanted to be angry, didn't want to actually think of a solution because I'm stupid. And then Sapphire's like, well, no, you're not. Don't say you're stupid because you're not stupid.
Because Ruby goes to say like, you know, I was just stupid like always.
Yeah.
You're all right. And it's like we've seen it before, and we see it after, where Ruby has a kind of a low self-worth.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that comes from the ingrained values of rubies not being worth much and sapphires being elite gems that are worth a lot.
Yeah.
And she was assigned to protect Sapphire.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes from that, and that's just something that has been the case, at least up until very, very late on in the show, where she actually starts to think of herself as an equal.
Yeah.
But that's just sort of... We don't know... I don't think we've seen the episode with the answer yet. So we don't know about all of this, I don't think.
We do not.
But we have seen in Jailbreak in this one that, that Ruby has kind of a low self-worth.
Yeah.
But Sapphire is always there to, reassure Ruby that she is worth something.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they finally understand each other.
Yeah, Sapphire finally comes out and says, obviously, I'm upset.
It's like, in other films when, like, you've got a masked person and they take off the mask in order to emote. And that's not really something that's, like, pragmatic. It's something for the camera. That's what it's for. And Garnet's got the visor and Sapphire's got hair in front of her eye.
Yeah.
And so they can take that off when they need to emote, and otherwise they sort of look more stoic than they really are being. And that's kind of Sapphire's deal, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, you get then a really sweet kind of flirting moment that's a bit awkward for Steven.
It is.
Between Ruby and Sapphire, but it's very cute.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, it's definitely Steven Universe pushing the kids show theme just a little bit. Not by much, but I'm sure this is one of the episodes they loved in Russia.
Yeah, they loved a lot of those episodes there.
Yeah. Well, I think what they actually did was they made it like much more clear that Ruby was actually like a guy gem, which is, I think, and I could be wrong with this, but I think that's then why Ruby's the one in the wedding dress.
Yeah.
In when they get married, because it's like, nope.
No, you can't do this. Yeah, and then it got cancelled, so that's cool.
Yeah. But anyway,
but Steven's like is sort of just relieved. He's not like happy about it. He just sort of goes to the ground and he's just like,
yeah,
I guess that's over.
Yeah.
And Greg, he's paid for the damage. But Garnet is back.
Garnet's back, and they get free ice.
And they get the free ice. And Garnet wants to kind of make up.
Yeah. And he comes home with the ice.
And they come home with the ice. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Pearl and Amethyst are talking.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't. That gets interrupted by them arriving home.
Yeah.
And Garnet actually talks to Pearl by saying, "I don't want to talk to you."
Well, she says not now, which is a distinct
a step
difference. It's a step, yeah. Which Pearl acknowledges. She's like, she's talking to me. This is good. Yeah.
It's a step, and it's nice to see that the conflict is not resolved in the same episode.
Indeed.
It's just one step.
Yeah, because Garnet is back together. They both have accepted each other's feelings, Ruby and Sapphire, that, you know, we're not okay with this, but we do agree that we need to try and move past it. But that, it's not going to happen immediately. And it won't. We've got, like we said last time, we've got a couple episodes each with a different member of the Crystal Gems before we get that coming back together.
It's true.
And yeah, the next one of those being Onion Friend, which is not too much to talk about.
I guess not.
Not to be mean to Onion Friend, but it's an Onion episode.
And if I grab some water while you
go for it.
Summarize
I'll just keep going. Yeah. So, Onion Friend. The Onion episode. Amethyst is in it too, and so is Vidalia, which is a type of onion, and also Onion's mum. That's a tap. So yeah, no, the episode starts off with them playing. Well, not playing, but Stephen making a sandwich bagel thing.
I'm back.
Nice. I just told people what a tap was, and
very good.
Got past the sandwich part. Onion's in Stephen's cupboard.
Yeah.
For goodness knows how many weeks he's been there, but
Onion can teleport, clearly.
Onion, like, it's a joke, but yeah, is he human? Maybe. But yeah, he steals the chaps. Again, and he breaks the window. Or it might be just being netting, actually, but...
Yeah.
But again, like, it's straight up robbing people.
Straight up robbing people. Yeah, well, we've seen his chaotic tendencies before.
Indeed.
Yeah, Amethyst was also having a bad time.
Yes, Amethyst's having a bad time because the others have been having a bad time. And that's just generally a bad time.
Yeah.
Stephen follows him into a garage.
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of paintings of Amethyst.
Yeah, that's got to be a little bit freaky.
Yeah, without context, it's quite odd. So Stephen leaves.
Stephen does leave
with Amethyst.
Exactly. Stephen thinks the Onions painted him, but
yeah.
Then Vidalia bursts in with a gun.
I don't know how you got past that tarp. You've answered your own question, Vidalia. It's a tarp. But yeah. It seems like, despite this being such a small town, they've not seen each other in a long time.
Yeah, it has been a very long time.
It has been. Because Vidalia's similar age to Greg, and neither of them are super young anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're old friends.
Yeah, Amethyst was likely hanging with Vidalia when Greg and Rose were just sort of hanging out.
Yeah.
and then maybe stopped once Stephen had become into being. Maybe I'm not sure if his with that sort of
I
jokey
also
kind of
wonder if she ended up hanging out with Vidalia potentially after she screwed up her relationship with Greg the first time.
Oh, maybe.
Just something that popped into my head now.
That's
could be because Vidalia definitely did seem cooler than Greg. Greg's very cool as well, obviously, but yeah. And yeah, she hasn't seen Steven, and Steven doesn't really know who she is. And he just kind of seems bewildered by the whole thing. And yeah, I don't know, like if maybe Vidalia was into Greg, because she says, "Oh, Steven looks like Greg. That's good. He used to be super hot." But then they kind of both laugh. But it's like, I don't know. And like we said about before, like Amethyst and Greg also seemed pretty close. So yeah, it's weird. We're moving on.
But we've seen young Vidalia from how they met.
Mm-hmm.
And that was where she was with Marty for at least a little while. And then Marty up and left.
Yeah.
And Vidalia stayed there?
Yeah. Well, seemingly Vidalia lived there.
Seemed already, like it, yeah.
I think. And yeah, Marty was just like, I'm here because this guy's here. Oh, guess I'm going now. Just leave my child.
Cool guy, Marty.
Cool guy.
Marty. Very cool guy.
And yeah, Vidalia just explains how Amethyst, was a great model. Because, she can turn into anything. And also, this just seems like the kind of thing Amethyst would like to do. To be fair.
But yeah, turns out they've both been busy with children. Probably, I imagine it's like when Onion was born, I imagine.
Yep.
And when Stephen moved into the Gem's house.
Well, when Sour Cream was born, even really, like what we see when he's a baby, that they clearly still do talk and stuff. But
Sour Cream was born, like even when Greg and Rose were still together.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it turns out Vidalia's Onion's mum, which would make sense because I think you told me once that Vidalia is a kind of onion.
Kind of onion. And her hair looks like an onion.
And her hair does look like an onion.
And so yeah, they're like, yeah, stay for dinner.
They do indeed.
And they do, even though Stephen was just making his lunch. But hey, it's fine.
And they're having or maybe Stephen had his lunch when he got back.
True, maybe he brought Amethyst back later. That makes sense.
But yeah, they're just sort of conversing, reminiscing about the old days, and Onion is doing things with his potato or whatever in the background.
Noodles and butter, I think, which is disgusting.
It looks like potato, but if it's noodles, then I'm even more concerned.
Vidalia says, "Oh, it's just a little thing I like to call noodles and butter," which, yeah, less said about that, the better. Sour Cream's here too, but we don't really hear anything from him.
No, he's the classic antisocial teen.
Yeah, and yeah, clearly it's been a while because Amethyst doesn't even know about Yellowtail.
No, that's true.
And yeah, Stephen's It's like, hi, sour cream. Who's, just vibing. And Onion's making a face of Steven out of his food that he then licks. Because he's Onion.
Yeah, Onion does some classic disgusting
Then
things.
He just spits it back out.
Yeah. They start to go into what it's like, what Amethyst, because Amethyst has just been asking about Medallia all night, and so but Amethyst doesn't really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Steven wants to head out, but they do want to.
She's enjoying talking and reminiscing and stuff.
Yeah, and plus the electricity is going out because it's sour cream, which makes Onion look all the more menacing.
Yeah, just a tad.
Just a tad. But yeah, he does eventually agree to
stay and
to stay.
See.
And Onion brings him to his room.
He does. And he shows him a mouse.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, this bit.
He's got a snake.
He sure does have a snake. And he hands the mouse to Steven, and he's like, go ahead and do it.
Sorry, I've got to do it. And the mouse is like, you flipping kidding? You don't have to.
Steven can't do it though.
And Steven can't do it.
He likes life. Like Rose. Ooh, that was controversial.
Yeah.
Don't tell Steven I said he was a bit like his mum.
Yeah. So they deal with that, and then Onion puts on the video of him being born.
Yeah, why did he get that as a present?
I don't know if he got it as a present. I imagine his parents just had it and he took it.
But it says "Happy Birthday, Onion" on it.
Have a think, Chan.
Oh, but wouldn't that mean? Wait.
Birthday, because that was the day he was birthed.
But why would he have it then?
Because he found it and was like, I wonder what this is. Yeah, this seems about the right level of weird for me to just have in my room.
Oh, I thought Vidalia and Yellowtail were like,
no.
Happy birthday, Onion.
Nope.
Here's you.
Nope. I don't think so. I think it's just like, Happy birthday, Onion, because said he was born.
It makes more sense.
Yeah, it does.
Steven kind of nopes out of there.
He does.
And Amethyst and Vidalia are talking in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Amethyst talking about how their argument is just making her feel like it's sort of trapping her in this house.
Yeah.
But it's not really anywhere else she can go.
Yeah.
You're just stuck in this sort of bad vibes zone,
Yeah. Indeed. And yeah, they're both just like, oh, you're all so cool. No, you're all so cool. And like, great how everything could just, you just kind of bounced off of you. You never took anything too seriously and everything. But clearly, times have changed. And as we know, things are not going too well at the moment. So yeah, Steven's like, right, well, I should leave them to this.
Yeah, Steven sees that they're having a good moment, and he's like, well, I might as well continue then.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very nice of him, of course.
Yeah, and Steven is not, no, Onion's not moved.
Onion is in exactly the same pose.
He is.
But this time, Stephen agrees to go through this incredibly long vent.
I don't know how it works. It makes no sense.
It's Onion.
Yes, exactly. Because there's no doors. It's just a vent comes in here. There's some lights. There's an actual floor. There's like a baby onion poster.
Yeah.
And there's like a very intricate kind of mat.
Mm-hmm.
With a chest on it, which has all the guys in.
Yeah.
From one of the first times.
Cheeky little reference.
Mm-hmm.
To Onion Trade, which is an episode I don't think we talked that much about.
Nope.
Because it was one of the earlier ones.
Mm-hmm.
Where we were like, man, we only went through 8 episodes this time?
Yeah.
That's very little.
Yeah.
And now we're like, man, we only went through 1 episode? That's not very much.
Yeah. But yeah, he's like, you got gals too? Oh, explore a gal. That's awesome. And yeah, he's like, Onion gives Stephen the Explorer gal. Which is quite nice of him.
It's a very nice gesture, especially after he stole Stephen's, what was it, like Ranger guy?
Ranger guy. He's an invisible guy, which is hilarious. And then it's the night.
That's the night.
And yeah, Amethyst's like, thanks for dinner and for listening, which is pretty sad, but also good that someone has finally listened.
Yeah, Amethyst did need a support network at the time.
Yeah, because clearly Garnet and Pearl are not in the right space to deal with that right now. Stephen is a kid, and while I'm sure Greg would listen, I don't know if they're quite back at that point yet.
Yeah, they're not really on good terms with each other.
They're they're mending, but
and as we saw in the last episode, right at the end, Amethyst was supporting Pearl.
Yeah.
And while, of course, it's always good to support your friends, sometimes it can be too much.
Detriment of yourself, yeah. Indeed. And yeah.
But yeah, Amethyst invites them back round to the temple, and Medalia's like, "You ready for Onion round 2?" And Onion looks at him with a smile, and the mouse is
in his mouth.
In his bloomin' mouth. It's just been there the whole time.
It's like, what? What? Onion! What are you doing?
Turns out, didn't feed the snake with the mouse.
Did not.
He just ate it.
He just ate it himself, and only kind of. Because he's Onion.
That's Onion, trademark.
That's Onion. But yeah. Again, this is mainly an Onion and Stephen episode, but it does give you a bit of Amethyst and like how Amethyst's dealing / not dealing with everything that's going on.
Yeah, it's the same with the Pearl episode, which is next. It's like,
exactly.
It's mainly not a Pearl episode, but it also does involve her sort of
adjacently
way of dealing with it.
Exactly. And with that being said, that's our 2 episodes rounded out for this week. We probably would have managed that Pearl episode if I didn't have to head off a bit earlier, but I do. So yeah.
See you in 100 years for a single pale rose.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while. But yeah, there we are. We found more to talk about than I thought on that one. I forgot quite how much like specific Amethyst stuff there was.
It's only a little bit.
But yeah, there's only a little bit, but there's quite a lot to find from that.
Yeah.
And, yeah. With that being said, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Cabincast. For more episodes, go to www.cabincast.podbean.com or use the Podbean app. You can now also find us on iTunes and Pocket Casts under Cabincast and on YouTube. The uploads here are behind. Finally, you can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Cabincast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.